What, man? Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to season two, gentlemen, of our Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. This is our first episode of the year, our preseason opener. We got racing in a couple weeks, and we've had lots of news since the lawsuit. The biggest one, obviously, is the announcement of the two bald-headed drivers. Oh, wait, no, that's just secondary. Is our new format, which is actually the old format, but with some improvements
Mhm.
over the original version of the chase. So with that, we can start with the big topic, which is our new format. We're going back to a 10 race chase, 16 drivers, and just straight up points. I, for one, am encouraged and for the first time in a long time, really excited for the season because there's not as many gimmicks involved. But how do you guys feel coming back to this as the start of the new season?
I'm glad that they decided to use the term chase. If you remember, before we went to the 3-3-3-1, even when they were running the chase, they were trying to call it playoffs, even before they changed it. I'm glad they realized use the word that everybody was calling it to begin with. Even Chris was still calling the previous generation the chase. So just call it what everybody calls it, and I thought that was pretty smart to do. I'm all for this because if you look at the last two seasons, Larson would have won it both 24 and 25. So I say bring it on, keep it rolling.
What about
Yeah, I definitely like it as well too. I mean, I think it was just kind of getting to the point where people were unhappy with it. Just even with me being a Penske guy, the year Logano wins, I mean, just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, cool. You're champion now over, because you survived and made it to the last round. So I think it's definitely better for the sport. I think it's definitely better for the fans. And I also agree with what Blake was saying. I like that it's called the chase again as well.
what about you, Chris?
I'm interested to see what kind of. I mean, I'm interested to see what how this is ultimately going to affect Penske. I'm hoping, even though I can't say I'm a fan of Joey, I do like Blaney a little better, but
You like
I'd
his new
like.
bald head look. Just a minute.
Yeah, no, I've never ultimately had a problem with Joey. I do kind of feel bad at him, especially when him and Brad were teammates. Dude, they got fucking picked on so bad. But I think just his crew chief alone has already proved that he can win a championship outside of this fucking this format. I mean, because he won one with Brad with
Yeah, that
being
was a
Paul
12.
Wolf.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad to see the fucking eliminations just done and over with. I thought that was stupid from the get go. Glad the win in your in is gone. Glad the fucking elimination format's gone. I think 16 is a little much for the chase,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I kind of get why. I understand the explanation on why they did it, but still, I hopefully they keep fucking working on it. Then, I mean, I know the sponsors may not be happy about it, but guess what? If the sponsor's not as fucking happy about it, maybe you should put a little more fucking money in to get these teams a little faster and try and make sure your driver makes top 16 then.
Yeah. I agree. So let's talk about the details of it some more. So the 16, how they got there, a lot of the post format explanation had to do with contracts and having to rewrite existing contracts. So I can understand how we stayed at 16. I do agree it's a bit too much. Their secondary justification when you compare NFL, NBA, MLB, postseason numbers, we're right between NFL and the NBA in terms of the number of teams that qualify for what would be considered a postseason. So I'm okay there because I mean the after listening to Dale Jr. and some of the others and having witnessed the chase, we're all fans that came from that prior era when it was introduced, in 2004. Other than if you pull a Herculean effort like Chip's driver Tony Stewart and go in there and win half the races, you're not going to come in there last and overcome the 100-point deficit that there is from first to last for the starting advantage. So if you finish the regular season in first place, you're getting a 15-point bonus or a 25-point bonus over second place, but not only that, you've got 100-point head start over the last place guy. So there's no longer I squeaked in and I'm going to fluke my way into a championship. If you do get into the final 10 races by points, not by, a random, last minute pass to win Daytona in the fall, and bam, all of a sudden your whole bad season's erased, you are still going to have to turn it up and drop a Herculean level, performance. Um, and, based on my fan time as I see it, Hercules. Uh, my era as a Jeff Gordon fan, when he was, fighting off Jimmy Johnson. I mean, some of the most iconic moments in the last 35 years of racing came in that 10 race, 10-year era of, you know, Gordon was on his way to either what would have been title 5 or 6, and Jimmy Johnson and Chad just turned it up. And he went to victory lane at Phoenix and was like, I'm not worthy. I mean, I'll never forget that. Like that's a true iconic moment, not because of somebody randomly lucking their way in, but I mean, the 48 team just pounded the competition into the ground and made themselves a deserving champion. So I'm glad there, and I understand the contract piece of it. So um, I'm glad the winning in is gone, like we said. Uh, I wish stage points were gone, just because that would, take it back even further to a simpler points position format. But there's no more playoff points either, so it's, you're going to earn points throughout the race, but there's no I led stage 1 to stage 2, so I get a playoff point trying to do all this math and everything. So that's good. Um, yeah. The biggest thing I heard at the announcement was in the post breakoffs, where you had the different people being interviewed. You had Steve O'Donnell, you had Ben Kennedy being interviewed, and I don't know how much of this you guys listened to, but Ben Kennedy in one of the breakout sessions afterwards said if it wasn't for Mark Martin, we would probably still have playoffs. So to me, that's a big talking point. Something I want to talk about is, you know, Mark Martin quietly went off into the sunset, if you will, when he retired. And, he's been attending short tracks and everything. And I think there's no question that without Mark, the sport of NASCAR was, basically working its way to killing itself. When they brought in this fan committee and brought him on board, he has openly said, like, now that the whole thing's been done and you could talk about what was said in the room, that he said, all I have to lose is a hard card. So they can't really do anything to me. It's not like they're going to kick me out of the Hall of Fame. So I'm going to echo on behalf of the fans, and I'm going to call them all their BS. And I really do think without Mark Martin in that thing, us as a fan, like, I just don't see many of us that are old school fans watching NASCAR much past the next 5 years, just because we were headed down a very different path. And NASCAR leadership made it very clear when Ben Kennedy says it, and, Phelps and those guys, that they were very much settled on playoffs. That's where they were going, was just it lightly tuned the playoffs. So with that, what do y'all think about that? The fact that NASCAR internally wasn't even considering a drastic change until Mark brought it up.
It goes to show you that they got their head in the sand 9 times out of 10. It took the loudest voice in the room to turn heads. And like they said, they thought about kicking him out of the damn room for saying it. And it's like I said, it's just they're in the sand all the time. The next thing they need to do is get rid of at least one of the stage breaks. Keep the stages. I'm fine. I'm good with the stages, especially with the new system. If you win stage 1, stage 2, and you win the race, that is 75 points towards, championship. So I mean, you've got that, but you do not need to stop these races for it's just an entertainment caution, and that's
It
not what we
is.
need.
Yeah.
So I mean, and honestly, if no matter where the track is, if stage 1 ends after 10% of the race, or 20 or 15 or whatever, 15% of the race, and we throw a caution, kind of like when it rains, we throw a caution for competition caution. Do a consistent caution for the first stage, And then the second stage, just keep it rolling. There's no reason we can't do that. We did it for 70 years. There's no reason you couldn't go back to it. That's what probably I'd say 80% of fans want, but you know, they're so stuck in the entertainment business, they forget that this is about competition.
Yeah, definitely. So separate from the format itself, because of Mark Martin's role in it, and I was talking to Blake about this earlier, just like some of my thoughts, having listened to Mark's own words, Dale Jr., to Jeff Gluck, to people that were both in the meetings, but then obviously the post announcement fallout. Like, where do you think this etches Mark Martin in the history of NASCAR beyond his racing career? Because I feel like it took him from, he was already a legendary type driver, to, I put him as an influential a figure now with this change as a Dale Earnhardt Sr. Like, he's up there on that mountain now, where he may not have been before, but he most certainly is now, as far as a voice to NASCAR about the future and health of the sport. And
I
being that
I
Mark's your guy, I would like to know what you think, Chris.
Yeah, I felt like go, Chris.
I mean, in my opinion, and not just because it's Mark Martin, for the role that he stepped into and the stance that he took on what just happened with where the sport is now, I would say I put a little more respect on his shoulders than I would for how much and how long Burton's been around and supposedly been so influential in the garage. Because
Yep.
every time you talk to fucking anybody's talked to Burton, or you listen to what Burton has to say when he's in the fucking booth, he was backing fucking NASCAR's play on everything.
Yeah, he was definitely being the mayor and not and not in favor of the fans. So that's another
No,
point. Mark got up, said his piece, said I have nothing to lose, but here's everything you're doing wrong. And if you
yeah,
want to fix it, this is what the fans are saying to me at the local tracks. And if you want them to come back, you're going to have to make some major changes. Um, and as you listen to the content that came out in the days and weeks since this announcement here a couple weeks ago, I think it's very telling just how disconnected, we all say it all the time and bash on NASCAR, and a lot of fans do, but NASCAR media likes to dismiss Twitter and the Reddit and some other stuff, that, like, they're echo chambers, but and that they don't represent the masses. But I really think that listening to the post playoff or championship and format change announcement content, it drove home just how biased and how much of the Kool-Aid that some of these people have drank uh, in the last 10 to 15 years. Because I think of some, so let's start with Larry McReynolds, for example. Here's a guy who crew chiefed for Dale Sr. and Davey Allison. And he himself thought that the playoffs were fine, don't touch them, and refused to admit he was wrong, and picked at Mark throughout the year last year about echoing for this, and picked at Denny Hamlin.
oh,
And
dude, through shade. I mean,
yeah, through shade
seriously.
left and right. And then so did Danielle Trotta, who was a field reporter for years and years. And it's not, I think, to most fans, it's not surprising to see that on the NASCAR media side. But then you also see it within the print media, because you hear uh, you know, obviously Jordan Bianchi and Gluck, but you also hear from Kelly Crandall and some of the others about how their initial complaint is there's not going to be enough storylines to talk about. And what I see really is they got lazy. They were gifted storylines. They didn't have to do any real homework anymore, because every race NASCAR gifted you a storyline because it was all about the playoffs. Now you're actually going to have to go look at what a team's doing throughout the season to try and make gains to make back up that ground to get inside this top 16, and if they can make ground far enough up in the seating to give themselves a shot. It's not about, oh well, this, your one guy won, and the guy won and it completely overshadowed the importance of every victory, and really everything was geared towards one event instead of the culmination of all the year's work. So I found it very interesting to see just how blatant the journalists became in their laziness. They were blinded to like just the content that they were creating or lack of content, real stories. Um, and to listen to him complain about it, I thought was hilarious, but I didn't know, did you guys pick up on that as you've been listening to this stuff here and there as well?
I have a question for you guys real quick.
Yep.
The comment that Larry McReynolds said, no matter whether it was fucking aimed at Denny or Mark,
Yep.
I would put that same fucking comment right up there with what fucking Phelps said about fucking Childress.
Oh yeah, about how because you should basically you don't belong with a seat at the table to complain
Yeah,
about having never won one. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't won a championship, so what? It's like fucking seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, because guess what? How many you fucking won, Larry?
Yeah.
Just like Denny said, how many did you win? You didn't win any either. Even as a crew chief, you didn't win one fucking championship.
So if you don't win, that makes you automatically an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about?
Apparently, according
You
to
know
Larry
what I'm
McReynolds.
Which is crazy because you've got, I mean, regardless of Mark having a championship, he's still one of the most decorated racers in NASCAR history, period, across all three series. He's won in all three series. He has, qualified for the chase and numerous times, come up second several times. He ran his own team.
Five, right?
Five.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's just so many times, and just so many accolades, IROC and, Nationwide or Busch Series and everything. Like to dismiss him or to dismiss Denny Hamlin, whether you're a Denny Hamlin fan or not, just because they
I
have
don't even
a
have to look him up.
championship, it's idiotic. When you
I don't
look
have to look. I don't have to look him up, and I can give you those stats.
Yeah, you're talking okay, Southern 500s, Coke 600s, Bristol night races, Daytona 500s, playoffs finishes, or regular season standings, marquee events, money earned, laps led. These guys, they know what they're talking about, and they're not echoing on, to dismiss them because they haven't won it when they're echoing for something that would benefit everybody, regardless of if it benefited them. To me, it was like just it really put a sour taste in my mouth for Larry McReynolds. I put him right there with like a Dave Moody now. Like you definitely have lost your objectivity, and I'm glad you're not on TV anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So one of the things Mark said in his post thing was, he's hoping that fans will come back, core fans, based off these changes. He said in talking to Jeff Burton that Burton doesn't believe those fans will come back, which, I mean, if we, knowing Jeff Burton based off of the persona he puts forward, that doesn't surprise me that that's his opinion because he's bought all into what we just got rid of that everybody had such disdain for. So, any thoughts there?
Well, I think he's an idiot because he to make a comment that you don't think those fans will come back, even I mean, he drank a little too much fucking Kool-Aid because at least NASCAR's attempting to fucking act like they want the fans to come back. He's just flat out saying that they won't.
Yep. Let's see. So, along with the overall championship format changing, one of the big changes was the DVP car will no longer be eligible for the fastest lap. Obviously, Blake is not a fan of that.
I've got a lot to say about that too.
I will give you the floor in just a second. I'm in agreement on why they disapproved it because after the cars are repaired, it's not like they go back through tech. So you may have fudged something to be able to gain an advantage there, and you don't know it. Now you could remedy that by saying we're going to award you the point, but then we're guaranteed whatever the fastest car is going to get teched at the end of the race.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would resolve it. But yeah,
the thing is there's an official watching when you're fixing the damn car.
Don't
There's
disagree.
always so if that's one of the reasons why it's idiotic. And what it is there's probably 5% of the NASCAR population that was like, oh no, I think Larson got
3.
No, I'm talking about because of the 3 points, he was able to leapfrog Denny and Christopher Bell at race 26 to be higher to get more playoff
Oh,
points
yeah, the regular
last year.
season, the
Seating.
regular
So
season
those
championship. Yeah.
3 points really did matter, and so people are upset about that.
Yeah.
That changed his. I mean, that technically gave him. I think it's 5 more points towards the playoffs.
Yeah. And the old
I don't.
school format is the equivalent of giving them a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were it was under the rules, but I get why they're doing it. I just think it's bullshit.
I'm,
So,
I'm,
so go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, if you're going to keep the DVP policy, then we need to go back to what we first touched on, and that is getting rid of the fucking stage breaks. Because if you're going to have the DVP policy, the only reason for it to even exist anymore is to have some kind of attrition in the fucking race so that you have positions to make up. If you're going to get rid of the only incentive those guys had to go in the garage and to work on that car was to come out and try and get that fastest lap, what incentive is there to even go fix the car now? There might as well not even be a DVP policy anymore. Just take it away again.
Okay.
I mean, unless you're going to get rid of the stage breaks where you have the possibility of attrition, where you can come back out and make up 4 or 5 spots because you'll have cars that'll wreck out or potentially have fucking mechanical failures because you're literally man
Wait,
against fucking machine. You're running
you're
those
telling
fucking
me
cars. Huh?
you're telling me that with the 2 stage breaks, we lose 24 laps of racing where people could potentially wreck? Is that what you're saying?
Well, not only that, but wearing out fucking parts, just putting the
Yeah.
stress on the fucking car, putting the stress
I
on the
was
fucking
agreeing with you.
drivers.
I thought it'd be funny. With
No,
it.
I know, but it's fucking frustrating. The simple fact of taking that shit away is you might as well just got rid of the whole both the fucking the fact. I mean, you can't take that point away and just leave the DVP policy in there. What is it ultimately going to accomplish? I guess is my
We
point.
lose 30 laps of racing at Bristol because of stage breaks.
Just the stage breaks, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
30 laps right off the top. Period.
Yep.
No doubt. I mean, I might be okay with keeping them if they were to stop the lap count for the breaks. And they say, well, it changed the miles. What do you think fucking pace laps are? Sometimes we do 4 laps. Sometimes we do 5. Sometimes 7, 3. It just depends on the track. And it's like that's changing the mileage too. What are you
Mhm.
all not understanding here? So I'm all for stage breaks if they stop
So you want
taking my laps out.
well, see, and this is where somebody needs to make that fucking argument when that gets made up. So okay, so if rain or something's coming in, you guys don't mind changing the fucking mileage to shorten a race if it's fucking needed, but you don't want to fucking extend it just to for what reason?
Yeah. Not to
Either take
mention that
go ahead.
when you have a green white checkered, what does that do?
Extends the race, and not
Like,
just a green white checkered. That as many as it
Could be
takes.
5. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, and everybody's saying they don't want to not count the stage breaks because it changes the lap count of the race. Well, the same thing happens when you do a green white checkered. So you're talking out both sides of your mouth.
it's just semantics, is all it is.
Yeah.
You're talking out of both. Yeah, you're starting to sound like Jeff Burton, fucking talking out both sides of your mouth.
All right.
But with the other thing we've talked about this outside of here. Um, they thought they did a great thing with giving the winner of the race 55 points. That way, no matter what happens with the second place car, they have the most points. And I guess everybody in that room that decided on 55 forgot about the fastest lap point. So the guy that finished second could technically have the most points. It's like all you had to do was bring in an ultimate fan like me, you, or any of us, and go, no, why don't you just make it 60 so there's no way somebody can have more points. If you ultimately want to make winning mean everything, make winning mean everything. Give it 60 points, and that way, if somebody wins both stages and you never win a stage, or don't even come in the top 10 the first two stages, you still have the most points. It's really not that hard.
Okay. So anything else about the points announcement initially that we want to talk about? The only thing I will say is that it does, we made all this commotion about getting we as the fan base and the drivers and teams, everybody, about getting the championship race under the old format, the playoff format, moved to Miami. Now we're back to Miami and we go back to a 10 race chase. And so now it's no longer about just being good at Miami. So
That,
1 year a little too late, but either
that
way,
was
I'm glad that still we're going back to like four, what would be probably more than likely it's going to be 4 championship weekend at Miami if it's anything like it was before.
And I will
But
be
it's just
there.
kind of ironic we get that back only to lose the whole point of going there as the finale. So
yeah, that I was confused on that whole fucking move on. Yeah, well, I mean, I get they made that decision before all of this shit came to a head, but it's like, yeah, now we're gonna go through a rotation at the end of the year of what they make it sound like 4 different tracks, and it's all for naught because they were afraid Penske was gonna run away with it every fucking year, which Blaney fucking won again.
yeah, well,
It kind of gets lost in the mix, but Blaney did win that fucking race again.
He won
And
because Brad overdrove the damn corner too.
yeah,
but still would have been a Ford either way.
Yeah,
It was either going to be Brad or Blaney. It's still a Ford.
both Fords. Yeah.
Yeah. So
so let's I just want to make sure I don't forget this, so make sure we come back to this. But NASCAR recently announced, and it was kind of glossed over, but Grizzly nicotine pouches is joining NASCAR as the official partner, as an official partner and an official partner of NASCAR owned tracks. I want to come back to that because that's a big deal. Not only are we going back to the chase, but you're bringing in a nicotine sponsor. We lost Winston because of government regulation and cigarettes, but you're bringing nicotine pouches on board, not only as race sponsors, but now they're an official sponsor of the series. And the whole purpose of this was not to be advertising nicotine and cigarettes to kids. So I think this is a big thing to come back to and talk about. But I don't want to divert from the championship thing just yet. I just want to put that in your head for something to think about in the background. But so let's get into who do you think is going to be the biggest winner out of this change, team wise, and then loser in terms of who's going to probably have to really rethink how they do business in terms of preparing for the season based on how we've got a championship format change.
I don't see how you don't pick Hendrick as the biggest winner. You with Larson, Byron, Chase is consistent as hell. Um, the 48 has its moments. Maybe something happens this year and he gets back to his consistency before his back injury. But you know, like I said earlier, Larson would have won the last two championships. Byron would have won 22, I think it was. So it would have been about 4 championships in a row for Hendrick.
Mhm.
Gibbs is on the cusp, and
Yeah.
I believe that the other part of your question, I think Penske needs to step it up if they're when it comes to consistency. You can't have Ryan Blaney blow up 5 times in 10 races or whatever it was. You can't have that.
Yeah.
Um, and then some are saying Trackhouse with SVG, and I told you on the phone earlier. There's people who did the math on it, and SVG would have made the playoffs, or I'm sorry, the chase last year, had we had it with how he ran through the summer months. He gained just with the way the points were then. He gained 10 positions in points in 10 weeks from the Coke 600 through I think it was Coke 600 through the time the chase started. So if he did that in his rookie year, I don't see any reason why he can't do it this year.
And he's probably going to dominate the road courses this year. And same thing what you just said. He clearly was getting better at all the other tracks throughout the season.
Yep.
I mean, he was getting closer to the top 10s and 15s on a consistent basis. So, but I think you hit it on the head as well too. I mean, my initial thought was as far as who it benefits. I mean, clearly it's Hendrick. I mean, they have been consistent. They've had some bad luck towards the end that kind of eliminated some at the end, and I hate to say it, but that's kind of what helped propel Penske as the ultimate winner in what was it, 3 seasons there.
Yeah,
Three in a
three
row.
consecutive.
Yeah, I mean, and you all know I'm a big Penske guy, but sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. It is what it is. I mean, they have not been consistent. I mean, they have kind of relied on other people's unfortunate events or whatever, and they've rose at key situations, but it's not been like a consistent. Like Stewart and Levin is an amazing 10 race stretch. They've not done that. I mean, they're really good here, then they're awful and awful and awful. Then they're really good here, and I just think if they can't pick that up, I think it's going to be detrimental to them unless they do something better at the shop and fix it.
Yeah, I agree. So I think Hendrick overall and Gibbs are like 1A and 1B in terms of who I think is going to benefit the most right out of the gate, just because of their past success and being consistent. But then even throughout the playoff years, they've still showed their ability to be consistent. Where I think Penske is, the easy answer because of they've excelled under this format, especially when it's come to the short tracks being the key to success. They've got something figured out there that everybody else just doesn't. They've closed the gap, but they hadn't quite got there. That being said, I think that advantage, regardless of the playoff format, now that we've gone back to a 10 consecutive race, what it has done and puts the emphasis on now is that we're going to go back to, you can't just be a short track program car like Penske or an intermediate like a Hendrick and Gibbs that are just okay at the small and the plate. Like you now will have to have cars that are and drivers that can do exceptionally well at all of them, because all 10 are weighted equally. And if you give up too many points at the beginning, you don't get a chance to make it back up at the end. And if you gain a lot of points at the beginning, but then you fall apart at the end, it's just as detrimental. So,
I'd like to throw an honorable mention in there though. I think with what happened the last it happened the last couple of years, come right down to the fucking chase with the people that were able to win and get in. And because it's kind of sad, they all showed speed throughout the fucking playoffs or the playoffs, all the way to fucking the finale, and he lost it in the last set of fucking corners. Is going to be RFK. All three of them. I mean, Brad had that fucking penalty last year, which really fucked him. But Priest and fucking Busher both got bumped by fuckers that were in the 20s and 30s in points because they got to win.
Yeah. So in terms of teams I see that can gain from this more than any other, I mean, RFK is my number one, definitely, because they've had consistent speed, not consistent finishes, because they've been trying to get that elusive win to lock themselves in, where the consistent finish is going to be weighted more than, don't get me wrong, you need to win, but you can't afford to throw away second place anymore and be like, second's not good enough. Second is damn good. You need to finish second now. If you got a 10th place car, you need to finish 10th. You can't afford to go up there and wreck it. The team that I see faltering from this the most, just based off their driver lineup and needing to now more than ever lean on Michael McDowell, is going to be Spire. Spire has got to get, now more than ever, Hocevar has got to get his shit together, because he is a freaking pinball, and that you can't have that, because those pinball kind of results will park you in the very back now. There's no resets to get you back up there. You have to get up there. One good day will not be enough. The dark horse that I'm excited to see how this change affects him. Well, I'm glad to see he's got a ride.
I think that's what Spire is ultimately going to miss right there when it comes to this new system.
Yep, they're going to wish,
system.
because
they're
before they got rid of him,
that car.
Yep, before they got rid of Corey consistently improved season after season average running position from the 30s to into the 20s to just outside the top 20, and then they got rid of him. Yeah. And I think they're going to.
Well, he was just outside the top 15 most of the time, not even
right.
top 20.
So,
he was.
Yeah.
and he was still possible to win, which won't lock you in, but it's a big point buffer now. But the one I'm excited to see for next year is Legacy. I want to see what John Hunter and Eric Jones, now that we're not in these continuously desperation moments where they're having to make up so much ground. I think both of them can consistently put themselves inside the top 20 easily enough. And all you have to have is one or two people make some mistakes to gain from that 20th to 16th spot to see where they come out this year. And I feel like it's going to be the same thing when I watch Priest, especially for our.
I see a team or two doing, if they're smart, doing what Brian Patty did back in, I want to say it was uh, what year did Mark had that really good season, Chris? The 10
What really good season?
Well, he
in
won
the
all
five.
those races in '09.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say Brian Patty wasn't with Mark in
I
any of the
know.
Chevy days.
I know. I was talking about Juan Pablo, but I was going off of when, because it was the year
Oh,
Mark
when he
won.
was at MWR was 12.
No, he was in the five. He won 5 races. What year was that?
09.
'09.
Okay.
Yeah.
In
I was
09,
thinking of all the diecast cars made.
Yep.
in 09, Brian Patty's idea was just his whole goal was to make the chase, and to do that, his goal was to average finish 15th. And I see a team or two just trying to average finish 15th just to make the chase. They're not going to
Oh,
go for wins.
you were talking about when Patty was Juan Pablo's fucking
Yes,
chief. Okay,
that's
I got what you're saying now.
I just couldn't remember the year. I knew you would remember the year of Mark's wins, so I couldn't think of it. But I see a team or two just trying to average finish to death to make the chase. Not going for wins, just trying to be consistently 15th or so. And if you do that, the numbers will tell you that you're going to be in the top 16 in points.
Yeah, because the people you're racing around are inevitably going to have a bad day or two where you're going to gain more than you should and get a little here, a little there.
And this is going to fall in the hands of, like what Chris was just saying. Busher, Priest is starting to get better. Uh, Bubba Wallace is going to make it every time. He is consistent as hell. He was in the top 12 in points before he won the Brickyard, but so many drivers had won behind him, he had to win the Brickyard to get in the damn playoffs. So now people like Bubba are not going to have to really change how they drive too much because they're already there.
So looking at that, one of the things that I'm really, like we're talking about people are going to change their driving style. I think the driver that is an A-level driver that does not benefit from this, and it definitely hurts them and is going to have to totally change the team and mentality dynamic is clearly Joey Logano. He has struggled the last 4 seasons consistency wise every season, even the ones he've won the championship, and they're not going to be able to do that anymore. They're going to be so far buried, they're not going to be close. And as a 3-time champion, that'll be concerning for them. I think that's going to make them really like, I'm waiting to see how they come out of the gate, because, you're not going to be able to afford, again, you're not going to be able to afford to dig a hole. And our first 4 races, you can dig yourself a hell of a hole, and a win and you're in is not out there as a carrot to get you out of your situation. Now you've got Daytona, followed by Atlanta, followed by Coda, followed by Phoenix. We don't get to our first intermediate till the 5th race, followed by Darlington. If you're already 4 races in the hole in some way, shape, or form,
That's a long season.
It's anywhere from, we'll call it 50, 60 points back to, you could be 200 points back, depending on if you get wrecked, especially in the first 2 races. If you get wrapped up in somebody's, big one. The good thing is, by doing this, the win and you're in being gone, it puts the emphasis back on each marquee event. The Daytona 500 will become the Daytona 500 again. It's not just any other race that a win gets you to the playoffs and we overshadow it, just like the Brickyard 400 last year for Bubba. Each one of these events, a win is special, even if you don't make the final 16. The emphasis on, hey, I accomplished this big thing at a crown jewel event, it will be celebrated for what it is and just how hard those races are to win, and not having the playoffs discussion at all overshadow that. So, um, yeah, I'm very we're not too far away, and I'm very interested to see who's going to come out, who our top aces are. They're going to end up leaving in like a big hole, having to dig their way out through the summer.
Well, here's what I think on that on Joey. He's already coming out with a new hairdo, which
Yep.
means he's coming out with a new badass attitude, and
Yep.
he's going to rock and roll this year, man. That's why he peeled her off. He,
Yep.
he he's going to be
He was like,
Heisenberg and start messing everybody up this year, man.
he's like, all right, I'm gonna get rid of this, and then other people that went bald. Chase Briscoe. I can't tell if that's a mullet on his hat that's like as an add-on,
But I
because
kind of like that.
the bald look, like, okay, so we're bringing the bald badass driver group here. Now, Chase Briscoe's in a car that's fast enough to back it up
Yeah.
with Gibbs, and we'll see what Penske has done over the offseason to close their gap with Logano. But either way, I know Jeff Gluck's happy. He's like, yeah, team wax that turtle shell up top.
He just needs to get Turtle Wax as a primary sponsor for a race. I mean, that would be legendary.
So, anything else about the championship changes that we want to talk about there before we move
I
on?
mean, looking back still to who the crew chief is, I don't know that I'm that worried about Logano, because they know how to play to the format.
Oh,
And I
no,
think
I'm not doubting Big Ball Paul. It's more about their speed, their setup speed. They have not been fast off the truck. That's the concerning part to me. They managed, when you look at the wins they got over the last 3 years that got them there, they most of the time did not win based off speed. They won off strategy. And
Well, like
strategy
Texas.
will get you a certain distance forward, but you're not going to luck into that strategy throughout 26 weeks. You're just not going to do that.
I mean, last 2 years, Texas last year and the year before that, when he won the championship, he got in because of a fuel mileage race at Nashville.
Yeah.
And without that win, if I remember right, he doesn't make the playoffs. So like, he ended up winning the championship, but Jesus, like,
Yeah. Kind of devalues it, honestly.
yeah.
And then the other guy, wasn't thinking about it originally, but the other, previously was an A-list driver, and he still is, but just hasn't been able to show it in this car. I think by going back to this format, maybe Kyle Busch will settle down into more of a rhythm because he's not having to push so hard to get that one win to get you in, and that he could, even if he backs it down 2%, that 2% might be the difference between where he's stepped over the line and wrecked it the last couple of years, and get him back up where we expect him to be.
I agree.
I think Kyle is absolutely capable of making it inside the top 16, but that fucking organization will never make it to the end as far as even close to the championship, because they just don't have the speed. They don't. I don't understand how that organization can be so fast and so dominant in the Xfinity series, but they fucking have missed it in the Cup series for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great head scratcher to try and understand why RCR, and then then you take and they have their performances like they did at Richmond 2 years in a row, and some of the other places where they just, or Iowa, where, like, okay, where did that speed come from, and how do you not have that everywhere else? What did you find that only seems to work here, but your cars can't work there for some reason, at the other places for some reason? So
I wanted to do a quick cursory glance of Denny Hamlin's 2026. The more content I see of him, where he's talking to people, getting interviewed, I mean, he'll make the chase, but I just don't see him contending. I just don't. I just think he's done.
I saw
I
an
think
interview today, and he really looked deflated.
I think
that's
he
really
what I
did.
say. I think the death of his father, losing the championship the way he did last year, even though he came out victorious in the courtroom, it still took a lot out of him over the last 2 years, and on the stand took a lot out of him, having to defend his actions and what he said and why. And yeah, I'm honestly surprised he's racing this year. I think if he didn't have a commitment already with a contract, he probably wouldn't, based off what you from his own words and his mentality you see.
Well,
So
his own words. Yeah, his own words were, "I have a commitment to Joe."
Yeah, I have a
He
contract.
said I made a promise to him, is what he said.
Yep.
When I saw
And
today.
the thing is, and Chris has gotten hounded by people all through the winter here about, Larson didn't deserve the thing.
Yeah, you were going right where I was just going to take this conversation.
I know. I saw you duck your head when he said that. So basically, what people are not looking at when it comes to Denny's championship situation, he's not has a chance. He does not have a chance at the championship without Byron wrecking at Vegas with the Ty Dillon crap.
That's still so dumb, man.
When that happened, it created a chain of events that you couldn't have foreseen. Denny ends up winning that race instead of Larson, so he gets in the final four. So Larson points his way in. Okay, but then the same driver, William Byron, wrecks at Phoenix. And Larson then wins the championship over Hamlin. I mean, they kind of, the universe kind of fixed an issue that, that it created by that happening. If, so the people that are saying they feel bad for Denny, well, Denny should be glad he's even there, because the same thing that took his championship away was the same reason that he even had a shot to begin with.
Well, I don't think they look at it, I think they're only saying that, like, looking in at that moment where, like, you elaborated on the whole picture, which completely makes sense. But I think they're just saying, well, that particular moment in time, that caution comes out, he gets passed on the outside, whatever, that was the end there. Oh, I feel so bad for him. But yes, the dumbass thing with Dylan, should have never been in that spot anyways, and none of that ever would have happened. But
yeah, Larson.
I hate it in that moment, but again, you got to look at it from the whole picture.
Yeah,
I agree. I when I say that, at least for me, when I say losing the championship the way he did, I'm just talking about that race by itself,
right there.
Isolated incident. It's further emphasis on the green white checker more often than not ultimately ends up with the wrong person winning the race who wasn't dominant on that day. Not championship side aside from Larson getting there in the position and everything, and Blaney, like, Denny rightfully was the winner of that race prior to that caution and was the leader at the time of with the scheduled distance. Just like 3 years ago, Kyle Busch was the rightful winner of the Daytona 500 prior to that green white checker they had, and he may never get that opportunity again. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I wish they would get rid of, is the green white checkered, and let's just go. We're moving back towards purity. And if we're gonna have green white checkered, I wish if we're gonna have a runoff, I wish it was more than 3 laps. I want it to be 5 or 6, so that you take some of the desperation, stupidity out of it. You still have the chance to give the fans a green flag finish, but you take some of the chaos out to where there's more chance that the rightful winner on that day wins the race. Not a random fluke of, like, let's just say Cole Custer when he won, for example. He was definitely not the best car that day when he won at Kentucky.
What about Austin Hill winning at Martinsville a few years ago? Yeah,
he was the best car at Kentucky. I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah. So, I think for green white checker purposes, I think they just need to call it NASCAR overtime. Just call it NASCAR overtime. There's one attempt, and we give it a 5 green flag lap. It needs to be not, yellow is 1, 2, like, needs to be 5 green flag laps. Gives them time to get up to speed, make 1 or 2 strategy moves, and it also takes away some of the chaos so that you get a better, more integrity based, outcome of the race.
Or just get rid of the fucking overtimes altogether.
I would love to get rid of it, but they're not going to, based off we got a
just like the
godsend with what we got already.
Yeah, but just like the stupid, we've already talked about it. You can put that in the same fucking category as the stage breaks.
Yep.
You're saying you're counting those laps because you don't want to affect the fucking distance. Well, you can't fucking have it both fucking ways.
I'm gonna go to Amazon and buy a bell, and every time Chris says "fuck," I'm gonna ding.
What can Brown do for you? Say the F word.
Yeah.
So, next
I could be saying
episode, before we
FedEx.
get into, last year we did a pick of who we think's going to win each race and who our top 16 will be. That'll be for next episode. We're going to sit
Okay.
down now with this new format and look at the schedule and think about how they're going to average out their year and who's going to ultimately point their way there and win these races, because it's going to be a wild season to watch. Like I said at the beginning, I'm very encouraged for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
Can I bring up something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
You touched on it a little bit when you brought up Ben Kennedy earlier, but I am no longer backing Prime for primary.
No?
No.
Oh God!
Oh, because
after what came out and what they said that got talked about, all because of this fucking lawsuit. A lot of the reasoning for the street courses and the the international push all came from the talks that they had
with Amazon
going into this contract with fucking Amazon.
Yeah. I still want their coverage as the primary coverage, but I'm okay with getting on board the Jeff Bezos is evil bandwagon. I don't think you're going to find too much. Everybody shops Amazon because of the convenience, but you don't have to like it. It's like taking cough syrup. You take it because you have to, not because you want to.
Yeah. I just think I'm sorry that goes. You can honestly put that right there. You can put that in the same fucking category as the fucking stage breaks and the overtimes. It's a fucking gimmick that's added in that doesn't need to be in the sport.
Agreed.
We don't need to be. I mean, F1 is an international sport. That's why they go all across the globe and do races. NASCAR's not. Never has been. Other than the few races they used to do in Mexico and going to Canada, and I know they tried it in Japan a couple times, but it's never been an international sport. Why are we still trying? I'm sorry, but I think that right there is one of the quickest ways, especially when you listen to all the horror stories on every fucking podcast that these guys did on how everybody got sick and all the bullshit they went through. On Father's Day fucking weekend, when your families can't even travel with you, you went to fucking Mexico for what? What did we prove there? We lost our host, everybody.
He gone.
I'm listening. I was getting a soda out of my fridge and I realized that I had Coke explode, so I'm still listening.
He went to Mexico to get him a taco.
He went to get one of the Mexican. He went to get one of the Mexican Cokes.
He'll give him a real one.
But yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you that. So one of the best outcomes, and they echoed in all their, talk shows and radio shows and everything, and nobody ever responded to me because they don't feel like they have to, obviously, on social media because it's not a real place. But
you should ask Dave Moody.
They were like, oh, the sport is worse off today than it was yesterday with the release of Steve Phelps. Show me one thing that man did good from 2004 when he came in as marketing to the time he left as president. And I understand that he is not the said decision maker. He is a figurehead. That's why Jim France doesn't do media. But at the same time, a lot of the bad decisions he was the face of. And if you want to see just how bad his influence was on the sport, here's young, impressionable Ben Kennedy, who thinks the playoffs are perfect and isn't looking outside the echo chamber. And Phelps was his mentor. So I can't be happier that Steve Phelps is gone, because he was poisoning the well for who's got to run this sport in the future. And the guy that's got to run the sport in the future, whether we want him or not, thinks that road racing on the streets is the future and that we need to go international and, we need to abandon our base and all that. And if anything, if you look at all the positive reactions.
Chase Elliott's part of NASCAR? Oh wait, that's just the history of the sport.
Well,
he doesn't like the history.
That's an important point to discuss too separately.
The same guy that doesn't want us to have Throwback Weekend.
Yeah.
Lameness piece of shit.
Well, we're gonna come to that.
Back on track.
So I'm very glad Phelps is gone. Hopefully the change and the positive reaction the fans have shown, 80% of the people polled are all in favor of these changes. That's nothing to, shake your head at, whether, NASCAR's internal people want to acknowledge it or not, or the media for that matter. But so speaking to Chase Elliott, separate from the comments about the throwback weekend, because I didn't read them, I'll let y'all cover that. But the fact that when Chase was asked to come to the press conference and he said, I won't come do it if I don't believe in the format because I'm not going to get up in there basically and be a shill for you. I think that was fantastic. I'm not a Chase Elliott fan, but I was like, holy crap, he's actually not a total piece of shit. So
Just
I just
slightly.
thought he's just partial, in terms of, and I say that as like how he treats the fans, but I'm glad that he decided he wasn't going to lend his name and his star power and the most famous, or not the famous, the most favorite driver moniker for each season to behind something that he didn't believe. He wasn't going to get up there and sell it if he didn't believe in it. And I think that's good that he said that out loud. Like if I didn't agree with it, I wasn't going to come be a supporting member of this announcement. So I think that's good. So whether we like him or not. Go ahead, gentlemen. So y'all want to talk about the throwback weekend post? Because I don't know. I saw the article. I haven't read
I
it
didn't
yet.
see it.
So you two have read it. Give us the lowdown. What was said and what are we doing?
Essentially, he said it got boring and there was no reason to do it. That's basically, I mean, in a nutshell. And it's like, it's not about you, you little prick.
The
It's
fans
about
love it. End of
about
discussion.
people like us that loves. I
Love
mean,
it.
we love our throwbacks. I've got a throwback shelf.
Yep.
Literally, I've got 7, 8 cars over there that are throwbacks, and I've got one of the cars I have what is throwing back too. It's like, what? Why don't you just let us have our little fun for one damn race for 36? Why is it so damn hard? You had Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi last year talking shit about it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't give a shit how you feel about it. I enjoy it. The fans enjoy it so much that it sells out the damn spring race.
Yep.
The Darlington
Hey,
spring race wasn't ever
And the
selling out before
diecasts
that.
every year are usually some of the top sellers. That one right there
Hey,
specifically.
well, it's funny you brought this up. I literally
God,
got
I
this
hate that
car in the
fucking
mail.
car.
Just got it yesterday, and it's obviously a sample. But
That
I
right
mean,
there
like,
is one of the few cars I'm missing that I wanted. I wish I had ordered when he won the
yeah,
Brickyard 400 in it, and it was dual autographed.
yeah. I don't have. So I've got the prototype of it, the sample of it, and I've got 3 door numbers of the race version of it.
I hate that car.
Go yourself.
I know why you hate it, but
But yeah, I
but,
literally just put this in a
Hey.
display case today.
but I think getting rid of the
300
throwback weekend is a bad idea overall. I think from the very
276
start,
laps. I led that race.
NASCAR did a bad job about getting buy-in across the garage. I think that's really where the throwback from the very first race, there's been a problem with this event just because sponsors and well, it's mostly sponsors more than anything have so much of a say in what happens, getting them on board with understanding that this event it's for the fans, but it's also about honoring the heritage of the sport. One event a year isn't too much to ask for that.
And
I'd
it's not
be
like they're
okay with,
forcing anybody. They weren't
honestly,
being forced.
I would be okay if we didn't do it at Darlington and instead, we just made it the first race of the year. We did the throwback weekend or the heritage event, whatever you want to call it, was the very first race. We opened the season with a race that honors the heritage of the sport. From
So the
paint
Clash.
schemes to you take the Clash. Don't always have it Bowman Gray. You can move it around, but make
You
that
don't want a race where it's 32 degrees outside?
I don't really care. I don't have to go.
You
I'm
mean
okay with it.
you don't want to race at one of the oldest racetracks that actually existed on the fucking thing? Talking about heritage?
I mean, I'm okay with it. And in my opinion, I don't think it being 32 degrees really matters because don't they complain about being hot in the car all the time? So they're warm. They're fine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the fans right now.
Hey, have y'all ever put a fire suit on?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
So I have one of Brad's crew member right here, and I put it inside of the house. Within minutes, I was sweating to death inside that thing.
Right. So
Now we're just standing inside
the
the
crew's
house.
warm. Now the
Yeah.
fans, I mean, I'm not gonna be a total dick, but the fans that go to that race, if you're cold, it's your own fault. They make battery fucking heated jackets at this point, battery electric blankets, heated socks, heated gloves. Like, there's no justification for you as a fan when you go to a spring race to be cold, period. Whether it's at Bowman Gray, Bristol, wherever. If you're cold, that's because you didn't plan.
I
That's
wonder.
not
I wonder if
anybody's fault.
TJ Majors is going to reverse engineer his cool suit.
To a hot suit.
Yeah.
He's just gonna hot bake, just be farting up in that thing all night.
He goes, "Hey, what's the common theme for these things growing up, so I can make it happen to mine?"
Yeah. I mean, if you're running cold water through there, there's no reason you can't run warm water through there. That's how you do wood stove heating in the north. So you just run warm water through it. But
You can just run it with a catheter.
there you go.
That'll instantly pump warm.
Yeah. All right.
Just have Denny meet you before the race starts.
But yeah, so as a diecast collector, I'm sad that we're not going to have throwback weekend. I'm sad for the fans.
I'm
And
hopeful that there's still some teams that'll basically say "F you" and still do it.
yeah, I think there are still some fans, some teams that'll do it, but you know, and maybe it'll come back. Maybe we just need to take a break from it for a while and focus on some of the other stuff. So it's okay. But I think from the very beginning, obviously we saw how popular it was and how well it was embraced by the teams that did do it. How the fans embraced those teams. Whether it was the first year was the first no, the first year was Mellow Yellow, wasn't it, for Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had the Mac Tonight car, we had the Mellow Yellow car, we've had a Hardy's Light car, we've had tons of Valvoline throwbacks. We had the Budweiser vintage stuff, plus tons of Budweiser and Busch beer throwbacks, which have been fantastic. We've had the Miller Lite throwbacks.
The Xfinity
All of
Series
these
knocks it out of the
long-term
park every
sponsors.
year. Every year.
Yeah, they go all out. We've had Exalta and DuPont. We've had a lot of really good buy-in, Lowe's, UPS from the teams that did do it.
Motorcrafts. I'm sitting looking at the cars.
Motorcraft.
Motorcraft's a good one. I see
Express Worldwide or whatever, but prior to them becoming UPS, that.
a couple different Shell and Pennzoils.
Hendrick Carr threw back to
the Kellogg's and to.
Well, I was trying to piss
that
Chris
was
off
one of the cooler ones. I thought Larson's.
They threw back to Mark Martin's. I mean Tony Stewart's Hendrick Carr scheme.
Yeah, I mean, so we all have rooms full of cars. Well, I used to have a room full of cars. They're all in storage now, and they're fucking freezing. But when I get them back out one day,
you're a monster.
Yeah, I am a monster. I tell my wife all the time I need a place for these cars, and she said, "Well, it's going to be a minute."
Oh.
They're out there in the cold, and they're alone, and they're lonely, and they need love. So, but we'll get there. So, all right.
So, nicotine.
Yes. So let's come back to this nicotine thing. So NASCAR, they didn't put out a press announcement, like a big announcement, because it's the off season. But it caught my eye because of the big deal about getting Winston out of the sport. Well, here we are. It's we lost them in 2003. It's been exactly 23 years, and here we are. And now nicotine is a primary sponsor for the sport, a partner for this sport.
Is it with Coke and Geico and?
Yeah, it's a official partner at that level.
Those are 5 now.
No, I think they lost one and gained one.
Xfinity probably.
Yeah, so you've got 4, but the fact that we have a nicotine sponsor as a primary sponsor for the sport and for the tracks, we remember the red and white, banners for Winston all those years and everything there. Back when we had Camel and Cool and all these different cars with nicotine sponsors on them, and for a long time we got that out of here, and now we've brought back, was it Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff? Well, that was with Hemrick with RCR. They kind of started it.
Beautiful car.
Yeah, beautiful car. Kyle Busch with the Zone nicotine pouches and his, and then also the 3 Chi with the weed. That was, these are things that I never would have expected on there. But even those were just like a toe in the water. So to see the sport bring a nicotine-based sponsor
Hey,
when
I can
the
remember
big
getting
push
cans of
was
Timberwolf at like Talladega back in the
right.
years.
So
I can remember getting
Timberwolf, the
those.
Kodiak.
Yeah.
We used to get cartons of Winston's. If you took a pack of the cigarettes that you smoked at the time to the racetrack in Vegas when I was growing up, they would give you an entire fucking carton for that pack of cigarettes of Winston's.
Nice. So,
but that goes right back to what I was just going to say is I don't think the issue is and where they're going to say the loophole is and exactly where they'll go with it isn't the nicotine, it was the tobacco.
which if so, that's, to me, you're playing semantics about it. It's like saying we can have THC stuff, but not weed. Well, where's the THC come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like one thing short of being full blown weed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And again, I'm not against it. I just think it's very interesting that 23 years ago we ran these kind of sponsors out of the sport, and here we are.
Well,
And
that
we
was
slowly let them back in. And I know it was a government mandated thing. It wasn't NASCAR's direct decision to be like, we just fucking hate money. And we're just gonna, all those fans and everything. We just decided we don't want it. We just don't want any of that anymore. Because the sport was definitely at its best during the Winston era, no question. Is it at its strongest, both financially and fan support and the whole nine. But I just thought that was an interesting announcement that we've got this, we've slowly crept back this direction, one step, like one toe into the water at a time. So
I
now
don't know. I'm kind of interested to see where they can take this, man. I mean, because we're going to places like Portland, Oregon, where they don't have very many restrictions, even on their what you would consider for most of us to be street drugs. I mean, shit, we might be running the methamphetamine 250 here pretty soon.
Get the announcers up there. Oh, he's on the verge of winning today. He ain't messing around.
Well, there goes our YouTube. We're screwed now.
So,
it was nice for y'all to join us for our one episode this year.
Season 2 ended at episode 1. Welcome to the Ketamine 400. So I just thought that, I noticed that it's out there, but it's not something that you heard on Sirius XM or you see out there directly on like a NASCAR page. It's done very quietly. And
I hear a lot of advertisement for Black Buffalo, which is a
I agree.
Yeah, but I mean,
Blaney. What I'm saying is, you didn't hear the sponsor affiliation to the sport as like a main release article. That's all I was saying. But there's tons of drivers out there pushing little pouches and chew pouches and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the advertisements all the time on some. I mean, especially through some of the hunting podcasts I listen to, and that's their big selling point is Ryan Blaney, professional race car driver Ryan Blaney.
Yep. Well, it says official partner. Grizzly will have a presence across NASCAR-owned track campgrounds, creating opportunities to interact with adult fans in relaxed social settings. So, like that, it's going to be a big, staple. When we go to Bristol in the fall, we'll have to see what kind of, stuff we see around the track there as well. Even though it's an SMI track, just to see what kind of presence as a core sponsor this new edition has.
Here's something that hasn't been brought up with us.
Yeah.
That is the first sponsor for NASCAR that the teams are going to be benefiting from.
Yeah.
Because under the new contract, any new sponsorship for NASCAR, the teams get a hand in.
Yep, they get a percentage.
So that's interesting. That might be why they're being so quiet about it.
Could very well be. Could very well be. Let's see. What other news? Haley Deegan's coming back. I guess Indy Next didn't work out too bad.
I was just going to say that too. It's like we can't be excited that Deegan's coming back.
But not only she's coming back, but she's going backwards. Like she's going back and backwards. She's starting back at Arca West.
She's still young. She's still super young, and I think that
don't get me wrong.
Potential for her to learn, and maybe she knows what she did wrong. She just took every offer that came to her, and now she, that car is good. The McAnally cars are great in the West Series. So maybe she can take what she's learned up here and take it back down there and refine her tools and maybe see if she can make her way back up the ladder.
I'm not against her coming back and trying it again, because I do think, she did win and she did run up front and she showed she could do well when she was down at that lower tier series. If I were her manager, I would have had her go to the Cars Tour if there was an option. Because, we'll come to that. Because the Cars Tour, more than ARCA now, builds better, well-rounded racers. And you see that with the guys that have successfully come from the Cars Tour and had success in any of the three divisions. For trucks, we'll call it the Grand National Series and the Cup Series. I think it would have served her better to do that personally, but
personally, I think
Yeah.
like the note I just showed, I know those guys couldn't see it. They'll be able to see it when you watch the YouTube version. But not only is Deegan coming back, but
Yep.
her and Tony Breidinger both are switching to Chevy.
Yep.
They're not going to be in the Toyota camp anymore. The big thing for Deegan, which I have not heard, is hopefully she is out from underneath her dad's fucking thumb. That was the worst part of her fucking management that she had was her dad.
Definitely. Yep. Brian.
Yeah,
Brian steered her the wrong direction a couple different ways. Getting out from under Toyota was a mistake. Staying with Ford the way they did was a mistake. Like you said, taking every opportunity that came at you without really looking at the long-term benefit, ultimately just was not the right way to go.
Well, I think the comments and the one article that I read, I don't think leaving Toyota was a mistake because Tony Breidinger kind of alluded to it, not only for herself but for Haley as well. She went to the team and said, I want to put more focus on being able to perform on the racetrack. And the team came back and said, nope, Toyota wants you to keep your social media presence. And they were making that same push with Haley Deegan.
Yeah.
He was a teammate to Heim, yes?
What's that?
Ridinger. He was a teammate to Heim, yeah?
At one point, yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So it goes to show you that they're putting money into one truck and one truck only.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but they legitimately want to come in, and I think that's one of the reasons why Deegan went back to the ARCA series, is they want a legitimate shot to work on being a better driver, not just what they can put out on fucking social media just to bring eyes. They want to go out and actually perform, which I think is, I think it'll be great for the sport if it doesn't just keep heading that direction. If they don't keep getting that same push, they could be great for the sport. Honestly, that was one of the things I hated the most. And it doesn't matter every time you fucking turn around, whether it's a fucking car insurance commercial or fucking even still to this day, you see the GoDaddy commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Danica still such a big fucking presence? She was never that relevant in the fucking sport as is.
No,
but they're still using her for that push.
I'm trying to find the page or the chart of all the people that are going to be on this next topic. The Ram Gong Show for the truck.
I haven't heard of any of them. I saw the list. I haven't heard of any of them.
I just wanted to pull up like the list of everybody who's on it, and then like who of the people that are in there. If we know any of them, and B, who do we think are going to be it's going to be 8 episodes. I'm looking for. Okay, so place the winner in the final seat, 5 truck lineup for 2026. So right now you've got Daniel Dye, Justin Haley, Butterbean Queen are 3. There's a free agent in there, and then there's the race for the seat. But I'm looking for the page of people that because it has the thing, but they had a chart at one point. I know. Did y'all see that? That had all.
I just saw it the other day, but I really didn't look at it.
There you go. I got it.
Okay. So let's see.
It is Austin Beers.
Okay.
Mike Christopher Jr.
Never heard.
Minnie Tyrell.
Heard of.
Cody Kelly.
Never heard.
And Casey Kelly.
Nope.
So
Is that it? I felt like there were more on there than that.
There's only 5 of them.
Oh, hold on, there's more. There's a picture in between. Carson Ferguson,
Nope.
Cade Brown,
Nope.
Ryan Gimmel,
Nope.
Chase Burrow,
Nope.
Jonathan Cash,
Mm-mm.
Tanner Reef,
No.
Landon Huffman,
Know that one.
which we all know that name.
Well, Tanner
Grant-
Reef, he's been in a few
He's been in
Xfinity and
ARCA.
truck races.
He's been in ARCA. Landon Huffman. Did I say it twice? What did I do go up? Okay. Grant Griesbach, Jared Fryer, Trevor Ward. Those are the names.
I don't know very much about most of those guys, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out. I think it's good that we're going to have a series about this. We need that kind of content for NASCAR again, where you're watching these kind of things. So I think that's good, but yeah, the 15 drivers competing for it, like I haven't heard most of them.
Number 14 is what the number is going to be. Whoever wins the
Okay.
ride.
So let's see, Austin Beers. That's why I know that one because he's a wheel and touring championship.
Oh yeah, Beers. They've been talking about Beers for quite a while.
I'd say him and Huffman are probably going to be the two that'll be between, if I had to guess, just based off of who you listed. Like they're the two that I know have like the most success. It seems like.
Mike Christopher is the nephew of Ted
Eddie
Christopher.
Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
Minnie Tyrell is 21. He's been in the Cars Tour with 88 starts. His most recent full-time campaign, he had 3 victories.
Yeah, I was gonna say he had I know he had at least 2 victories if you listen to Junior's podcast this year.
Yeah, he won a $50,000 payday with the Throwback Classic at Hickory. So Cody Kelly's a track champion at Florence Speedway. Casey Kelly also has a track championship at the same track. So all these guys essentially have track championships at these small tracks. So
Yeah, I mean they're all accomplished at the lower level. It's just I was surprised it wasn't more. It's Kaulig, so they're a big name, especially at the middle 2 divisions. So I'm glad they're picking from outside the top 3, but at the same time, I'm surprised they're not taking potential from either the second tier or third tier that maybe just didn't have the right opportunity. But you could go either way. So we'll see who comes out on top there, and what they end up doing with it. I would say it's going to be a lame duck year for AJ again because the Kaulig Cup, support ties are cut pretty much with Chevy and with RCR. They're Chevy in name only, really, because they're going to be Ram in 2 years. So I think they're going to
Ty
struggle.
Dillon will bring that team to the top. Don't you worry.
I mean, we'll see.
So my last thing is Ram. Our buddy Chip's not here. How do y'all think Tony Stewart will do in the Ram truck at Daytona?
Checkers or wreckers?
He's still Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
Can he fit through the door?
Oh yeah, he's lost
Well,
a
in a
lot of
truck,
I think he's got slimmer. Yeah, I think he has.
I just had to say it.
Hey, the
I
trucks have
honestly, there's a couple things that happened, and so they've announced the return of Tony. But I really think if we didn't have this new format coming, and if Steve Phelps wasn't gone, I don't know that they could have got Tony to come back to NASCAR because he definitely threw shade at Steve Phelps without saying his name out loud from meetings with NASCAR from years ago, where he was saying this is everything that's wrong, and here's how you need to fix it. And Steve Phelps was the suit in the room that basically said, you guys are totally wrong about what we need to do with NASCAR, and basically told him and other drivers like him to pound sand. And well, as a result, you lost a very prestigious 3-time champion as a team owner, as a supporting figure, as a voice in your garage, like as a mentor. You lost him in so many different ways, and you can't afford to be losing guys like that when you have so many aging track owners and team owners that are headed for the rockers, between Roush and Childress and Penske and Rick, they're all 70, 80 plus years old. They can't be there forever. You needed Tony Stewart. So to run him out, I think it's good that NASCAR's got, one of their marquee champions coming back, even if it's just for one race. His presence at the track is a good thing.
Speaking of Phelps,
Yep.
who, Mike, I got a double-sided question. Who do you think will take that role? Will be given that role, whatever you want to call it, and who do we think who would we want to run the role? I think we'd all agree with Mark Martin would be amazing, but
I don't
on the
I don't
second
think we
part,
need a commissioner first off, because again, we're not a league. We're not a sports league.
yeah, we
We
are.
we are something different. Racing is different. We need to stop trying to be like everybody else. That being said, I do think you need a position, not as a commissioner, but as I'm trying to think of what the right word would be, where somebody like Mark Martin or Dale Jr. or something like that, when they're not as a team owner or whatever, but they can be an influence to the decision making and the sounding board. I don't know what the position should be called. It's not a commissioner because they shouldn't be making rules, but they most certainly should be there as an advisory position at some high level to make sure that the sport, like that 75-year legacy, isn't ignored. Specifically, the first 55 years that got you there. You know, because the fact that we're going back to a straight points format tells you that it wasn't broken. And I said it last year several times. I don't think the chase was broken. I think the schedule was broken. If you had just changed the schedule up like they did over the last several years, you don't end up with a playoffs at all, because then you don't end up with a Jimmy Johnson winning every year for 5 straight years. I mean, it's still one of the most impressive feats in all of racing history. But I don't
Yeah,
think
but now
it's
we got Ben
possible.
Kennedy running that bullshit, and
Yep.
and he's, I mean, it's obvious he's paid off. Why is Gateway in the final 10? Why?
Well, I mean, again, you're talking about all these tracks were selected based off of a playoff format. So 2020, we were already stuck with 2026's schedule, no matter what they did.
Yeah, but
2027 schedule will
Gateway's
be the
not a
determination.
racetrack that is a lot of passing going on. So, like, why
Yeah.
would you even put that in the playoffs or the chase or anything?
Because they're going to change the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because
Okay.
Mark hinted at it, and I don't know if you've listened to any of Mark's new podcast so far yet, Chris, but the next issue I think on Mark's agenda is the car, and he said he spent a lot of time at the R&D center meeting with NASCAR talking about the wheels and the aerodynamic balance and the height and the downforce and everything. So I think that's probably his next thing to tackle.
I
And
hope so.
I can't think of anybody better to go out there and do it. That's going to be, again, has nothing to lose. What are you going to do? Take my hard card? Well, I don't come to, I said, I don't come to NASCAR races anyway. I go to the short tracks. So whoop-de-doo, you took my hard card.
I mean, and honestly, I hope somebody that still is involved in the sport and at the racetrack, I hope somebody that they allow to go in there with him is fucking Knaus, because Knaus said the same fucking thing.
Yep.
Yep. You said it in Martinsville in 2023, was it?
Yep. So I'm hoping that's the next avenue they attack, because there's been so much money spent on this car. You're not going to just get rid of it, but there's so many levers you can pull to fix it if you just will open up the box a little more. Again, change the wheels, change the brakes, take the underbody off when you do that, raise the suspension. One thing I mentioned a couple weeks ago when I was talking to Blake, and I don't know if I've said this on our podcast before or not, but everybody's excuse when you listen to NASCAR media at any position or technical position when they're talking about changes to the car is, well, money is one of them, but they all like to say we can't unlearn. You don't have to unlearn. You just have to outlaw the shit. Just flat out outlaw it. Okay, you cannot coil bind. It's illegal. If I catch you coil binding, you're thrown out. Problem solved. Throw them out once, they won't do it again. Make them go back to standard strategic, the same shit you buy on a car today. Nobody buys a car with coil bound springs. You get a regular shock and strut package on every automotive car you get out there. Make them go back to it. Just outlaw bump stops, outlaw coil binding. It's not that hard. You just take away that part. You just make it an illegal part. You don't have to unlearn it. You just take it off the table.
I mean, the bump stops, they're not going to get rid of unless we get rid of the fucking aerodynamic or the downforce created below the fucking car.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, there's a reason why those bump stops are there, and that's to keep the car fucking sealed. They have the bump stops there for a fucking reason. The big thing is you need to get the cars back off the fucking ground, put the aerodynamics back on top of the car instead of under the car, and put travel back in these fucking cars. For one, when they get flat tires, there's no reason why they should have to be fucking towed to the fucking garage or the pit road. That's fucking stupid. Yep. Whether they have the fucking air system in the car or not, that car should not just be fucking stranded just because it's got fucking flat tires. It's dumb.
Yep. And if you change the wheel diameter and get to a fatter tire, that solves itself, because then you can run an interliner again.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but then they need to not go back to not even the taller tire. They need to go back to a fucking narrower tire and a smaller fucking brake package, because that's going to fucking change the dynamics of how they approach a fucking corner, and it's going to open up fucking passing.
Yep.
At all racetracks.
So I'm hoping that's the next avenue they tackle, based off what Mark was saying, to that point of where we need him in the sport. And I hope, I'm not gonna say I think NASCAR knows, but I hope they're smart enough to realize after this, format debate over the last 14 months or so, that this is something you need to include your legacy people in more, because they were part of that golden era. They know what it takes to put on a good racing, and you can have good racing and make it entertaining without having to, manufacture the entertainment, if you will. If you just fix some of the issues with the cars, it'll take care of itself. So, anything else we want to talk about with our opening episode?
You mean we want to actually go back to where what happens on the racetrack is the entertainment, not what fucking NASCAR puts into effect? That's fucking weird. What a concept.
It really is. All right. Well, so for next week, our homework, gentlemen, we need to, or our next episode, whether it's next week or not, but prior to Daytona, I would like for us to get together as a group and let's figure out who we think is going to win these races leading up, and who's going to make the final 16. And based on that, who's going to be our champion?
So well, how can it not be Denny at this point?
Well, leading into this year, I would have said Denny based on how he ended last year. But then after the trial and losing his dad, he'll make the 16. I don't think he's going to have anything. It just doesn't feel like he's got anything in the tank right now. And that could change between now and November. But it's going to be a rough start for him to get his head where it needs to be week to week.
I was just being an ass, because
I feel for him. I really do.
All in all, with everything that happened with the fucking trial this year, the not knowing whether or not they were going to recoup any of that fucking money that they lost due to any of the fucking earnings that they had from the Brickyard.
Yeah.
Anything that happened as far as any chase earnings, they didn't know if they were going to get any of that shit back. Having to fucking try and wrap your head around that as an owner, let alone still being in contention, going for a championship yourself. I just really got tired of just the simple fact that it was never brought up that he wouldn't even have been in that Final Four had the same thing not happened at fucking Vegas. The fact of just how heartbreaking it was, and everybody is just so disappointed that what happened to Denny in Phoenix. Well, there was a bigger chance that wasn't going to happen than there was. I got tired of hearing it, and even fucking Jeff Gluck brought it up the last fucking episode on the teardown. It's like, I mean, I understand the whole situation, especially the shit that just happened with his dad and everything too, but let it go.
Yep.
You got to look at everything as a big picture, not just situational as to what's going on now.
Definitely.
And that's the bad. And unfortunately, that is how our sport ended up where it is. They were trying to fucking overcompensate and react to what was going on now instead of looking at the big fucking picture and trying to save the sport as a whole and keep as much integrity in the sport as possible. And we ended up basically running a fucking circus for the last, 10 to 20 years. Yeah.
Well, definitely the last 12 years.
And it gets old.
Yep. Well, the good news is I'll be able to sell my complete collection of winner take all. This happened one time in history diecasts. I have them all. I'm just gonna sell them as a set. Buy this whole set
No,
of the clown era.
you
Gosh
might
dang
be
it,
the one
how
person who
much?
did
Damn
that.
it.
Oh, well, now you just
Were
hurt Blake's
you
feelings because that
were
means you're going to
you
sell both.
three easy payments of $9.99?
$9.99 and one house
$9.99? Are
payment.
you out of your mind? No. But all right.
Well, last thing I have with
Yep, go
what
ahead.
you just said. What is your favorite winner take all car? Minus Harvick, he doesn't count.
Out of all of those, in terms of diecast and like the overall appeal and how they look, it's one of the first three because that was still under the Sprint banner before we went to Monster. So they had the stars on them for Sprint and the confetti, and all three of those cars, whether it's Harvick's, Kyle Busch's, and the green M&Ms, or Jimmy Johnson and the Lowe's, all three of those are some of the best looking race win die casts I've ever seen. They've got such good detail with the with the champagne flowing down the sides and the burnout, tire rubber on the sides and all the debris, and then you've got that confetti and the blown out tires. Like, I feel like that was even though the circumstance surrounding it in terms of diecast, I think that was when Lionel was at its best, absolute best, because that was prior to us going to in 2018. Was right after that we switched to the
The overpriced
MXU
ARC.
model. Yep, the overpriced ARC that we called an elite. That was still during the true elite era, and those cars were like, you got the confetti, you got the winner picture, you've got all the debris and the damage, and they truly were a true collectible.
Yeah,
And
now there's a reason why I only collect the race wins for the races I've been to, because that's the only way you can get the fucking confetti now, is to actually go to the fucking race. Yep.
So
it's
Harvick,
amazing
because he's my guy, is definitely the number one, but I could pick any of those three. They all three have excellent detail. It'd be hard to pick one among those three compared to the rest.
It's amazing to me. 12 years, only 2 times the champion did not win a race, and the worst finishing position was third.
So you're
Second
saying
and
Larson
third.
was the worst champion that we had?
When it comes to finishing the last race of the season, yes.
I know.
Who would have, honestly, nobody thought that would happen
So
when they instituted this. We all thought there was going to be a 1 year where the champion finished 25th because there was a pile up, and the worst a champion finished was third.
Well,
I definitely think we
got
should
to see that because
go
they wouldn't
back.
fucking end the season at Daytona.
I really do think we should go back and just examine that 12-year period to that point about that stat, because you look at it in that 12-year period, there wasn't once, other than when Christopher Bell had his mechanical issues, so it's not a speed issue, where the final four were not the four fastest cars on track 99% of the time. That tells you a lot about NASCAR's officiating of those four cars.
The last championship Johnson had, him and Truex ran about 8th and 9th the entire damn race.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah. But I mean, majoritively, like I said, the vast majority, the fastest four cars on track just happen to be the fastest four or the final four almost every time. That there's no way you can roll the dice in terms of real world probability. That outcome is so unrealistic when you take a step back and you look at it through a lens of like integrity. It's hard to look at that and say that we weren't getting a manufactured product.
What?
I know.
Well,
I
mean, you had
somebody who likes numbers and it's taking a step back. Like, what are the chances you roll that dice that many times that way every time, every year for a decade plus? Like, that's just not realistic.
You mean racing isn't supposed to have a Game 7 moment every single fucking race? Come on.
The second Kyle Busch's second championship, Truex was right on his tail, right?
Yes.
Was that?
Yep.
Okay, so if you remember, Kyle Larson was running third in that race, and he actually said,
well, Denny was going to win that race prior to them putting that big ass piece of tape on there.
Larson said that he could have won the race, but he didn't want to affect the championship.
Yep. Same thing with Jeff
Twice.
Gordon in 2014. He was the race leader in 2014, and he pulled over to let the 4 guys go.
Yeah.
It pissed
Did
me off
did
so
that
bad.
happen? Did he say that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
twice.
said it in an interview.
Twice.
Because he said,
What?
I'm not part of this picture. He pulled over and let him go.
Oh my
The
God! I
year
didn't
he
know
had a
that.
race, I was like, I can't believe this is a track it took you so long to win at. Like, I don't give a damn if I'm in the championship or not. Race wins are that fucking hard to come by. I'm not pulling over for anybody.
Yeah.
You want me, beat me. I want what Ross Chastain did to Blaney. You want me? You want it? Beat me. You beat on my back dumper all day long, get around me. You know,
Air
I
block
think that's how it
motherfucker.
should be. You know, that's how it should be. So but that's all I've got for our season opener. All right.
All right.
Well, appreciate it, gentlemen. We're all preparing for Snowmageddon, Freezemageddon, whatever. It's like
Everybody
minus
but Chris.
16 degrees here, so I wear layers all the time and have little feet warmer now. I'm so cold.
Old
Everyone
fan.
got their ball warmers?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Comes in like a little sack.
Yeah.
Got a plug right there. I plug it in. It's got a little battery. What
Off
the
the
hell is that
line.
on your ceiling, Brad? Do you have a car on your ceiling?
Yeah, it's a light.
It's a light, but one of those is it one of those ones that used to go over like a pool table?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. All I saw was like the underbody. I'm like, that's not legal.
You don't
No
know
wonder
that.
it gets airborne. So.
Is that a priest car? Why is it in the air?
Well, if it was a priest car, you'd see the other side of it.
Yeah, it'd be hanging upside down. So, all right. Well, that was our end of our first
show.
one. Appreciate it, gentlemen, and we will see you back for the season kickoff or predictions prior to the season kickoff. Have a good one.
All right. See you all.
Hello.